And so stream has started and action.
Okay, perfect. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's math meeting. We'll call this meeting to order at 7:03, and if everyone can please stand up for the flag salute. John Hess, will you lead us in the salute?
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to have a moment of silence, and if somebody else would like to add on something else, but again, for me, this moment of silence is, and I hope you would all agree, is for all of those that are suffering here locally from the fires that we've had here recently, and then also all the hurricanes in the southeast portion of our larger community. So anybody would like to add on something to the moment of silence? Yes.
I'm not exactly sure of the dates, but Mike Thompson's very dear representative for our area and Napa, Brad Marinato, passed away suddenly. He was very ill for a very long time, and I would like to add his remembrance of his dedication to Lake County and his many years of service to our representative, Mike Thompson.
I second that, Kate.
Yes, thank you very, very much, Kate. So really appreciate that. Anyone else? All right, so a moment of silence, please. Thank you. And now would our Secretary, Ken Gonzalez, would you read the mission statement?
Sure. Math mission statement. The Middletown Area Town Hall was formed to operate as a true town hall with everyone participating and voting. However, county officials required us to elect a board to conform with other county advisory committees. Our bylaws specify that the board makes decisions based on a vote of everyone present. The board encourages all members to give their opinions and vote on every matter before the assembly.
Thank you, Ken. And we do have a quorum present here. We have Lisa Kaplan, Ken Gonzalez, Nanette, and Bill, and myself, Monica. And with that, I'd like to move on to the approval of the agenda. But before doing so, I have a couple of additions to the agenda. One is we have another speaker here with us this evening, and that is John Specka with APC, and that's the Lake Area Planning Council. And he is here with us this evening to speak on wildfire evacuation. And the other item that I failed to include, if you'll notice on the agenda, item number 6 is missing on the agenda. Item number 6 was meant to be, and I'm not sure quite how that just disappeared, but that is a presentation from MAMA to hear about some activities that they have coming up. So if we could have those two additions to the agenda, if everyone's okay with that, then we'll proceed. Do I hear a motion to accept the agenda with those two additions?
As modified, yeah. I make a motion.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved. So with that, we'll move on to our first presenter. I'd like to introduce to you John Specka from APC, and I'll let you tell us a little bit.
Great, thank you. First, I want to thank the Math for having me on this short notice. We're trying to get the word out about this plan we're putting together for the Lake Area Planning Council, and there's a survey period that's ending within a few weeks, and good timing to be able to get on. Anyway, again, my name is John Spica with the Lake Area Planning Council, and I will explain in just a sec what the Lake Area Planning Council is. But this plan that we're trying to advertise here is being put together by a consulting firm that we hired with a grant from Caltrans to prepare a Lake County wildfire evacuation and preparedness plan. I'll go into more detail of what that is in a second. But who is the Lake Area Planning Council? Well, we are what's called the Regional Transportation Planning Agency for the Lake County region. There's dozens of these planning agencies throughout the state that each kind of coincide with specific regions. Obviously, the bigger, more metropolitan ones are down Southern California or the Bay Area or Sacramento. We're one of the rural ones that is a lot smaller in scope, but nonetheless, what we do is try to pull in money for transportation funds from both the feds and the state for a number of transportation-related projects in the Lake County area. Our board is made up of representatives from the Board of Supervisors as well as council members from each city. So, and 2 at-large members, and we meet monthly. Like I said, we're a regional entity. We're not Caltrans, although we work closely with Caltrans, District 1, and we try to attract as many dollars as we can for bigger projects that we have for the region. Now, when I say transportation, that includes not just roads and highways, although those are major factors especially for the Lake County region. But I'm talking sidewalks, I'm talking bike lanes, transit. There's a tribal transportation component of what we research. And so there's actually an aviation one too, although it's not as critical in Lake County, but there is an airport, so we look at that as well. So as you could see, what it says there, we do assist local agencies in securing the funding. We also assist local agencies with, like, say, writing grants and trying to get such funding. We assist the tribal governments as well, and we partner with Caltrans for the state facilities, primarily the highways. And there's a couple other roles we play. The call box program is those little yellow boxes on the side of the highway. We administer that program for areas where there's no cell service and such. So this plan that we received a grant for, like I said, we hired a consulting firm known as the Resiliency Initiative, or TRI. They are gathering information and gathering public input for this plan, and that's an important component of it, is the public input. So what is the plan for? Well, it's kind of 3 things, really. It's to kind of coordinate with agency officials. There's a whole slew of agencies that get involved when there's a major wildfire. The main ones, of course, are OES, Office of Emergency Services, and the fire districts. LTA is another big one because they help with evacuation, especially for folks that don't have the means to get around, or they don't have a car, or disabled or whatnot. So a lot of times LTA is pulled in. The second big push then is to standardize response protocols. So, we always make it work, and there's been too many examples in the last 5 to 10 years in Lake County. Typically, everyone does kind of jibe and they're on the same page. But what this plan is supposedly aiming for is to get everyone to have the same plan in place. So you have turnover at certain agencies, whether it's LTA or OES, and sometimes they don't have that institutional knowledge. We want to have it kind of written into a kind of an overarching plan that would help each of the agencies kind of have a guideline where to go and what the standard protocols are. And then third, and importantly, is why I'm here, is to inform the community of practices and procedures for future emergencies. So this is, kind of self-explanatory, but we want to get the word out of, like, okay, what do I do? How do I prepare? Where do I call? You know, what are the information sources I could use to get to a shelter and those types of things. Obviously it's going to change with every situation because there's different routes that may be closed off or whatnot. But we do have a survey that's going around right now, and I'm trying to get as much input I can into the survey. It isn't. Oh, okay. Well, I'll get to the survey in a second. Where we're at is, like I said, the groups we're working with are OES, Fire Protection, and Lake Transit. We're coordinating with them and our consultant. We were reviewing the existing plans, and there's several out there, whether it's OES or social services. There's a whole bunch of plans for emergency protocols and that sort of thing. We're trying to get like kind of a one-stop shop sort of plan. And so that's where they're at now. They've kind of reviewed all those, and we're in the public outreach phase, including this. We've had tabling events. I've been to a couple of the town halls around the county. And in 2 weeks, we do have public workshops, one in Clear Lake on the 23rd and one in Lakeport on the 24th. I should add on the 30th, I believe, there's a virtual meeting as well that people could call into or Zoom into. If I got the date wrong, I do have on our website, the Lake Area Planning Council website, we have a page that has this information. I could kind of double check on that really quick. The next steps are obviously we want everyone to take the survey, become involved with the community engagement workshops. So it'd be great to see you there. There will be a second set of workshops towards the end of the plan, which is probably or maybe about 9 or 10 months out for when we're kind of getting to the finalization stage. But there will be a draft of the plan put together after it's developed, and we're going to have a couple more workshops at that point to get everyone's input on what they think and where it could be improved or whatnot. And then again, we have on our Lake Area Planning Council webpage, we have a link to where we're at with the plan, some more information and details. And that's sort of my spiel. I have some of those flyers on the back table as the QR code. You can scan that with your phone, and you could take the survey online. If you're averse to the whole phone computer thing, I also have some hard copies here. If anyone's would rather do that, I'd be happy to hang around and wait for you to fill those out. I also have a stack of my business cards, and it has email and phone. And you are certainly free to call me at any time and find out what's going on with the plan or get any more information from our website. So short and sweet, but I just kind of wanted to get the word out that we have this going on, and we could use your help putting it together. And any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer.
I have a quick one.
Do we have a mic?
That's okay, I can come.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Do we have a mic for the audience?
Yeah, but it's horrible.
Okay.
Thanks for coming here. I was just wondering, are you part of the whole, like when they say evacuate zone C26, do you guys have anything to do with that?
We don't. I believe that's a CAL FIRE thing, although I can't speak with any authority on that. It could be a local fire district thing. They do have the zones, and I follow. Is it CAL FIRE?
It's definitely not just our area.
Okay, it's sort of statewide or whatever. Yeah. A great app is that Watch Duty. Yeah. The one that's not, of course, listed in the survey, but that's the one everyone points to. So maybe you could write that one in or something. But that has a ton of information for any of these events. Unfortunately, like I said, they're becoming a little bit more frequent than we'd like. But yeah, so I don't have, I'm pretty sure it's CAL FIRE as.
Can
Yes.
you pull your mic a little closer? Yeah, thank you.
Are you consulted on new projects that are being developed in the county? as well.
Well, I know
Like
that-
the Gwinnett project that's going in down here and all the issues going on with that project.
Not in specific projects, although I'm aware of that one. I know the county is putting together their general plan, and there's going to be a kind of a hazard mitigation component to that as well. And we're kind of working with them to kind of be on the same page. In fact, the public meetings that I just pointed out will be kind of in conjunction with theirs. It's kind of a two birds with one stone sort of thing because they're super similar as far as, emergencies and mitigations and stuff like that. Ours is obviously a little bit more wildfire specific, but still, that's the biggest emergency I think we've had to suffer through. So, yes, so we do kind of keep up, and we coordinate with OES, and they're playing a big role in this, as are the fire districts.
Thank you.
Sure.
Pat?
Can I do it from here, or do I have to?
Sure, and I'll repeat part of it.
I can
Just
talk really loud.
okay.
I did theater.
Yay!
I've already filled out my survey, but there's something that's come to my mind that really wasn't mentioned on there that is like crucial, I think, for planning for evacuation, and which is what do we do about the people with mental illnesses that aren't going to pay attention? Is there going to be having a way to identify them? And some of them are like living off the grid.
Right.
And
Right.
if there was a way by community that we could identify these people that need outreach, but that some of us are really not up
Right.
to talking to ourselves because
Right.
it's maybe a little dangerous, that's something that I don't recall seeing anything like that in the questionnaire.
You're probably right. I don't remember seeing it either, but we do have what we call a technical advisory group that we've already spoken to once, and we'll probably be meeting with several times again before it's over. And that includes the big hitters, the OESs and the fire districts. Social services is also on that, so they're sort of kind of pulled into the whole, circle here of who to reach out to. Social services and the county agencies that deal with those populations.
That many of these people very purposefully have no connection with social services.
Yeah,
That's-
it could be a little trickier on that end. Unfortunately, I don't have a good answer at this point. I'm not in the development part of the plan either because our consultant is, but that'd be a great comment to add at a workshop if you're interested in coming, or if you kind of want to jot it down, I could kind of relay the message for you.
Email it to you?
That'd be great.
Okay.
And if you have my card, or did you grab it from the back there, or it's on the flyer? Yeah. Is my info on there?
Your email's on the.
Oh, it's on there. Okay.
There it is.
I could grab you a card as soon as I'm done here, and you could get in touch with me that way too. Thanks for the comment. Any others?
I'd like to add, number one, I was remiss in saying this at the beginning, that John was very timely in reaching out to us to participate. But if you recall, we let our secretary go on vacation, and we failed to, or I failed as chair to take over monitoring the emails. So anyway, but John did send us an email in a very timely manner to participate in our meeting so that we could participate in the survey. The other thing is that these two, unbeknownst to me originally, but now known or whatever, were just at a Caltrans meeting prior to this. And with Caltrans also, Izzy Canopa. Do you know Izzy?
I've heard the name, but
Well, he's a project manager with Caltrans, and he just came here not too long ago, as you all know, that maybe participated or have watched the meeting, that he came and gave us the plans over the next few years for Caltrans work in and around our community. And part of it is for traffic calming measures also to be improved. And so Izzy also contacted me today when I mentioned to him that you would be here, and he wanted to make sure that you're aware of the plans that are coming down the pipeline and would incorporate or if you have issues, because they do want to be very sensitive to wildfire evacuation. One of the things he mentioned was that they are considering a raised mountable median island in the south end of town for traffic calming. And they want to make sure that that doesn't interfere with wildfire evacuation and
It's
plans.
a bit of a traffic engineer question, but my layman's knowledge would be that would be a good way to go. I know Caltrans is very reluctant to go with like above ground kind of hardscape refuge islands when you're crossing some major highways or whatnot. There's a big issue on the North Shore as well. The mountable ones, obviously, you could get emergency vehicles over because that's one of the biggest concerns from those agencies. Hardscape ones, not so easy, although those also tend to slow traffic a lot more. But you're talking about the ones right here in Middletown. There's some projects I know they're working on.
Correct.
Yeah. No, I mean, a lot of it's visual too, because those traffic calming measures, including the medians and the refuge islands for pedestrians and that sort of thing. If you could show people that you're narrowing the road and they don't see a sea of concrete, they're less likely to fly through. And so even like painted stripes sometimes, with like kind of a hash mark or whatever, just any way to kind of indicate that this isn't like just a wide thoroughfare. Those things help. Like I said, the hardscapes are a little bit more foolproof, but the other ones allow for better access for emergency vehicles, and that's pretty important nowadays too.
Yes,
So,
right.
but yes, thanks for bringing that up, and I'll reach out to Caltrans to make sure we're up to snuff on that as well.
I think I can speak for all of us that we're really happy to hear that all of you are working together.
Well, Caltrans put the grant. They were the agency that awarded the grant, so there's a representative from Caltrans on here too that I'm guessing goes to their people and coordinates. Although I can't speak for that. So
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for John? Okay, seeing none, then thank you very much.
Okay.
And we will all fill out the survey, right?
Okay. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is that the one you said?
And now I would, okay, yes. So we'll have a couple minutes for a little switcheroo. But I will say a few things. What?
Was that the survey you sent us on email? Or is that a different survey?
There was a survey that went out in the second email following the agenda email.
Was that
Correct,
this
Ken?
one?
Yes, right, Ken?
You're talking about the
Ken?
fire project?
Where's
Yeah.
Ken?
Okay,
Yeah, that's the same.
okay. I filled it out then.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and our next speaker is Danny Wind. And if some of you were here before when Caltrans was here, we gave a brief introduction of Danny at that time. But I think, or at least I hope that you will find his presentation fascinating. Both Ken and I have watched his presentation as he's made this presentation at other municipal council meetings, just one. Right, yeah. But we found it to be, not that I wanted to pressure Danny too much, but we found it very fascinating, and we hope that you will also. You still need a few minutes?
Yeah, just getting the
Okay, no problem.
ducks in a row. Lots of plugs, lots of things going on. We're gonna make it happen. Alright. Yeah, everything is alright.
Do you guys want to move and sit?
I was thinking about that,
Oh,
Alright,
yeah, we could go sit
check
there.
my audio. It's filming the right thing.
Front row seating, back row.
Fine without it. So have that-
Audio test here.
If you want, Danny, we can bring that mic over. Okay.
Do you want this
Are you
mic?
going to stand there or here?
I'll probably stand here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're good. No. Sweet. I just actually.
Yeah,
hop off.
I think so.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah,
Yeah, that looked familiar. I'm just gonna go ahead and go with mirror. I don't need notes.
Wing it.
Yeah, you guys are in for a ride now. Alright. Oh, you know what? Unfortunately, I do need notes. Not for anything else, but to introduce myself. Because I stick my nose in so many darn things. Anyway, I'm Danny Wind. I met some of you guys before. I am very much a volunteer. I live in Lakeport. Assuming my computer decides to actually work with me today. Oh yeah, here we go. I wanted to just tell you guys some of the things I'm involved with, just so you can kind of know my background. I grew up in Lakeport. I went to Lakeport Unified School District for my entire educational career. I spent a few years in Spokane, Washington, going to school studying physics. I do not enjoy physics much anymore, which will happen when you study physics for 3 years. I raced mountain bike at Clear Lake High School in Lakeport. Big theme for tonight is I'm a Strong Towns member. I'm also a volunteer with the KPFZ. I volunteer with the Sierra Club. I'm on the Lake County Behavioral Health Advisory Board. Friends of the Lake County Library member. I volunteer with a few other Lakeport service orgs kind of talking about the same sort of stuff, advisory boards. Like was mentioned earlier, I'm on the Caltrans District 1 Pedestrian Bicycle Advisory Committees, and I loved the questions that Monica was asking, because these are the things that are literally like digging into Caltrans' side with a spoon, in the best way. There's some real changes that have been coming down from the Caltrans. And I am also on the Lakeport LAPAC, so I'm kind of involved with the general plan, just as someone who kind of knows a few things about a few things, and also their housing implementation plan, which goes alongside with that. And with that, now I can actually get into the thing. Sure, a lot of you guys recognize this. It is a great downtown street, if I do say so. And a lot of the stuff we're going to... Yeah, what's that? Abbey Road, yeah. A lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today is about safe and productive streets, and we're kind of going to start a little bit higher level stuff and then work off of that. So we're going to start with the productive side to this. But first, just to tell you a little bit about Strong Towns. Strong Towns is a nonprofit organization that advocates for a model of development that allows our cities, towns, and neighborhoods to become financially strong and resilient. We believe that in order to thrive, our communities must stop valuing efficiency and start valuing resilience. We promote incremental development, local decision-making, and financial solvency. We're not about big, flashy projects, but rather small, high-returning ones. We're about building cities that are designed for people, not cars, and we're about making our towns strong for the next generation. I'm sure a lot of you recognize that photo there. I picked it because I think it's a great indicator of what a nice, productive place does, what a good street does for an area. And usually these farmers markets are a great example of that, because it shows that you have people in the community that really want to be in a space and then also engage in commerce, which is how the county makes money or cities make money, whatnot. One of the things I wanted to mention, if you look at the contrast between these two things, one of these things indicates that it's a very productive area. One of these things does not indicate that. If you, at midday or at most times of day, if you are seeing more cars in your downtown than people, that's kind of a canary in the coal mine, that your community isn't doing so well. And don't worry, I'm not just picking on Middletown, Upper Lake, Lakeport, Clear Lake, Nice, Lucerne, all kind of have this issue, and a lot of it is dependent upon that roadway that kind of either cuts or connects our communities. So with that productive stuff, I'm gonna again kind of just glaze over some high level stuff. Really, the benefits of a productive street should be very clear. You're making more money that goes back towards the county, and one of the things that Strong Towns does is they talk about like well, let's actually just do the math on certain types of development. And so this is one of the oldest things that they talk about, where they essentially did the math on the difference that certain types of development will actually return back to the community. And so this example is of a Taco John's on the right-hand side. You can see that's a brand new Taco John's, and on the left is what we might call an old and blighted building, and old and blighted block. And there's some vacancies in that block on the left there. There's some older buildings that probably are in need of a rehab and facelift, maybe even some vacancies. But they really did the math, and what you get here is that you have, you know, a tax difference of total value here. Improvement value is going to basically be like the structure value, you know, included. And then that total value is what's taxable, right, for the municipality. With retail tax in California, that's a little bit different. But essentially, you can see with that one on the left, with the Taco John's here on the right-hand side, you have a total value of $803,200, and with the old and blighted block, you end up with $1,100,000. And so even with that old and blighted block, you have a more productive area than with the new flashy building. And that goes right also into the fact that which kind of area would you rather walk up to, right? The one on the right or the one on the left? What makes you as a person who's walking in an area want to go into multiple businesses? Usually it's the proximity of businesses. If you're going to one place, then you're going to go to that one place, drive there, and walk inside. If you're going to one of those shops on the left, you're going to have to park maybe around the corner. You're going to have to walk, and then you're more likely to engage with those other businesses that are around the business that you're going to, essentially. So this is a video of Shasta County, and I don't want to spend too much time on it because it's a whole hour long and it's really good, and I'll share this afterwards if you want to. But I do want to just go to one of the visualizations they do here. This is a value per acre analysis, and effectively what it does is it tells you how potent certain types of development are. And so this is Shasta County. If you watch the whole video, I'll make it available afterwards, by the way, and I'll make it available for you guys to share it around so you can get a little more in depth. But yeah, essentially what you're seeing here is that these core downtowns are really the economic drivers of our communities. And that also kind of plays in funny ways when you get into cities where a lot of the retail tax that comes from these types of development will go to the city rather than the county. And then, so there's some other factors here that they'll talk about. But for example, they also have to factor in the property tax. And so I think for the counties, it's very interesting when you take, I did it. Anyway, I'll skip over this a little bit faster, but essentially when you take away the retail tax for the county, you get very dependent on the property tax inside the cities. And so there's just some funny ways that plays together. I know that's really high level. I don't want to get too in the weeds with math. That's not really my type of thing. But there's some great stuff that they work with if you want to get like really in the weeds with that stuff. So now I kind of want to transition back into like that blending of productive and safe. And so I've got a few clips here that I just want to share with you that are from Strong Towns that kind of illustrate this.
Indicator species in nature, I immediately saw its application in cities. Hey, John, the happy urbanist, here for Strong Towns. Let's get into it. An indicator species is any organism whose presence, absence, or abundance reflects the environment around them. A positive example might be something like beavers in wetlands. A negative one might be a fungus that's taking out all of our banana crops. Indicator species show us whether or not we're doing something right or wrong. And I would argue that the indicator species for a city is people walking. If I'm at the heart of a downtown with parks and lots of amenities nearby, but there aren't a lot of people walking and riding around, then it's lacking some level of delightfulness, safety, or practicality to bring people here. It's not enough to declare a place walkable. It's the presence of people that make it walkable. And perhaps overbuilt roads with speeding, loud cars are a sort of negative indicator species for town centers and downtowns. I don't know. It's making sense for me.
So there's one, I would think that one of speeding cars and screeching cars is probably a good example, because you can oftentimes hear that in our downtowns where someone will screech to a halt when someone happens to go out in the street ahead of them.
Once I learned the term indicator species in nature,
Go to the next one here. Is that coming through okay, Colin?
Oh, everything's good.
Okay, good.
Thanks, sir.
No, but people crossing the street mid-block should not only not be criminalized, they should be encouraged. Despite the proliferation of the term jaywalking, it's not illegal in most places, including my home state of Tennessee. But it's still frowned upon because it's dangerous in a lot of areas. But if you are in a business here, and there's businesses all along the other side of the street, you should want safe, easy crossings for pedestrians. That is to say, if someone came to a salon on this side and saw a gallery they wanted to visit on that side, if it's too unsafe or inconvenient to cross, they're not going to do it. So the only customers you get are the people that are intending to come visit you. But the beauty of a business area is that a lot of people loiter, spend time, and end up places they weren't intending on going to, running into a friend and grabbing lunch. Donald Appleyard is famous for showing neighborhoods in San Francisco and how lower traffic streets increase community. I think a similar lesson can be drawn for businesses as well. The safer it is to cross the street at any location, more likely you're going to have patrons who are willing to loiter and spend more time and money and patronize businesses they weren't planning on.
So it's just another one to just think about some of the stuff that I was
No, but people.
I usually default to other people because sometimes they do a better job of explaining it than I could. This will be the last clip here. Again, just kind of talking about that transition.
What took this neighborhood street from dangerous to people-friendly? It's pretty surprising, actually. Look at this. Widening roads are the result of forgiving design. And while this practice saves lives on the highways, it causes speeding in neighborhood streets. Because when we pull fixed objects, like buildings, curves, and bike lanes farther away from the sides of the lane, people feel more comfortable driving at faster speeds, which is why it feels easier to go 45 and a 20, like what's happening here. But these wider roads leave our towns less safe for people walking or biking. So, how can we fix it? Adding design elements and visual cues that help make the street feel more narrow. Oh, makes you drive slower because objects appear closer to you. Genius. This is called optimal narrowing. And for the low cost of $100 of paint, Ranson added 2 shoulders for parallel parking. What followed was shocking. This community was able to reduce car speeds from 40 to 25 to going the speed limit overnight.
And I think that just kind of shows the power of paint. And John kind of touched on that a little bit also too. So it kind of brings me to the next part of this, which is a program that I worked on called the Crash Analysis Studio. This is a picture of Nice, kind of by the Marina Market, if you're familiar. So Highway 20, someone passed away here, or someone was killed by a driver here on a stormy night in February, and I nominated that crash for a Crash Analysis Studio. They were struck basically about where that school bus is in this photo, and after I nominated that, it got accepted, and I worked to collect some data on this Crash Analysis Studio. And so I'll play again just another clip here explaining kind of what that is.
I want to give you 2 scenarios. Scenario number 1, a plane crashes. Scenario number 2, 2 cars collide. In scenario number 1, we pull out all the stops. We bring in the NTSB, we try to figure out exactly what went wrong. Scenario number 2, we send up the cops. We sweep up the mess and we go on our way.
If we collectively, everyone on this call and the broader Strong Towns movement, if we do this right, we are going to save thousands of lives.
Mayors and local council members want to do the right thing. They have the ability to solve it. We're going to help provide those tools for them.
I want to give you 2 scenarios.
Ooh, come on. Now I'm going to go to the portion. This is a portion with Don Kostelek where we start talking about the contributing factors that contributed to the crash, and then also kind of looking at like the greater demographics of the area. This will be the last clip, promise, but it is a longer one, and you can watch. Pause it one more time. Oh, come on. You can watch all this online if you look up Nice Crash Analysis Studio. I think it's number 16. And again, it'll be available if I share this with you guys. But anyway, this is Don Kostelek. He'll introduce himself. He's one of our expert contributors. Then you also had some like volunteer contributors like myself and Thomas Aceves, who lives in Nice, sort of so we can get different perspectives on how people use that space.
I'm based in Boise, Idaho. Ironically, we were in Napa Navigation. Yeah, thanks for having me this. Don Kostelek with Vitruvian Planning. I'm based in Boise, Idaho.
Sorry, it's not a little louder.
Ironically, we were in Napa County doing work with Blue Zone after this occurred, so I was certainly kind of there for all the weather you were experiencing with that. So, and one, thanks to Danny for all the work they did in getting some of the on-the-ground information and being able to use that. So, and looking at this, when I look at contributing factors for this, we can take a lot from a media report, and you can find this as local advocates. So if we just look at the things I've underlined here, a 67-year-old person, that's a factor. The time of day, as Tony mentioned, at night, it was raining. They were walking northbound across the highway. The driver was going 40 miles an hour. And then here's kind of the disturbing line. The pedestrian walked into the eastbound lane directly into the path. And without getting too deep in victim blaming, that's a challenge in our crashes when there aren't witnesses because the driver's the only witness. And if we look at things about speed, things like seatbelt use, if I'm in a crash and I'm out of the vehicle, I'm tending the person and the police show up, they will say, were you wearing your seatbelt when driving? And if you say yes, that gets tagged and it goes into our national database. So who's going to tell the police that they weren't wearing their seatbelt? Those kind of the inside hardball and stuff. So when we look at contributing factors, there were people walking and driving. Amazing, right? Land use, as Tony talked about, they were going somewhere. Something you'll see in a lot of crash reports is we don't know why the pedestrian was there at that time of day. We never ask why the driver was there at that time of day. The night and rainy conditions, the age, the speed of the vehicle, and then the design of the streets that I'll talk about later really don't mesh with the safety we want to see. So let's talk about the people of Nice. As a population, you're older, about 10 years older than the median age of the rest of California. You're also a tourism hub, so you're going to have people driving and walking that might not be familiar with the community. That's part of the people factor. As Tony mentioned, with the land uses, people are going somewhere. These are the areas where people live and stay. The blue areas are where people play and have fun, and the purple areas are where people shop, dine, and socialize in your community. So we shouldn't be surprised when someone wants to move about freely within these different zones, and especially in a place that brags about having some of the cleanest air quality in California. We want them walking instead of driving these short distances. You can go out and Google what's called a sun graph for your community, and you will get the lighting conditions for different times of year. So I took that for Nice and backed it up to February 14th. And when we look in the bottom left, this was clearly nighttime. It wasn't even twilight, and it had been night for 30 minutes. So when we look at a graph like this, you can go back months later and go out at the same time of day in terms of the lighting conditions to see what was there. And if you've never done a walk audit at night, it completely changes your perspective. Weather was a factor. If it's raining, it takes longer for a vehicle to slow down. And this image shows at 35 miles an hour, we know this person was going faster than that. California Vehicle Code. No person shall drive a vehicle at a speed greater than is reasonable and prudent. And I know many of you have heard this of too fast for conditions about rain and snow. It never gets applied to when pedestrians might be present in an area, yet when you look at the law, that is definitely a piece of the code that is a responsibility here. When we look at pedestrian rights and duties, every pedestrian at any point other than within a marked and an unmarked crosswalk. There are two marked crosswalks here, but I would argue where the person was crossing was also at a public street intersection with Highway 20, and it is an unmarked crosswalk, and pedestrians have the same rights in those unmarked crosswalks as marked crosswalks. And even without that, it is still the motorist's duty to exercise due care for any pedestrian upon the roadway. That's the law. We will also oftentimes, yeah, thanks for having me, this.
Oh, goodness. It's okay. I really get this loud.
I'm doing the best I can. These speakers are blowing.
No, it's okay. And I don't know why the audio is so quiet on this. I'm sorry. Of course, my dad clicked. All right, I'm gonna try. Ooh. That'll make a mess.
The police and others were going to look at this as well. 30 miles an hour, the person was going 40. Speeding or exceeding the speed limit was not a factor. But I would even question that. And here's why we know this. Tony showed you, and I think the graphic that Danny provided about the chance of death of a pedestrian at certain speeds. It's also different for age. And this is a study done by AAA 15 years ago that looked at the average risk of a person 70 years old versus 30 as it relates to the speed of the road. And if you're 30, you can withstand 10 miles an hour more of force than a 70-year-old. This person was 67 years old. So when we draw on this graph 40 miles an hour and go up to the 70 mile an hour or 70 years old curve, nearly a 75% chance of death. Had this person been 30 years old, we're looking at about a 30% chance of death. And later I will talk about a target speed on this of 25 miles an hour that's consistent with California policies, but we had a target speed that self-enforced a 25 mile an hour speed limit, we would have increased this person's chance of survival by more than 50%. That's the physics of this. So road design is a contributing factor. You can see there's not much there to restrain speeds in this corridor. And if you followed things like strong towns and stuff for a while, we're always talking about narrow travel lanes, 10-foot travel lanes. They're useless when the rest of this might as well be a runway for vehicles and things. So we have to talk about other factors in that, which we will get into with some of the design improvements. Some other factors here from street design, no sidewalks. Nothing that's there for pedestrians to even move safely about this corridor. There's no curbing or other edge treatments. Not only does that nullify the 10-foot lanes that are there, there's infinite crash risk along this because there is no access control. So why would a pedestrian want to cross there where the person is in the video instead of coming to the crosswalk? Well, they're going to run into dozens of other conflicts with turning motorists because it's a wide open buffet for motorists to pull into this. There's no lighting on the corridor. We don't even have connectivity to the crosswalk at this one location where the sidewalk is. So if we're going to tell pedestrians to use crosswalks, we have to treat them as safe places to cross. There's no crosswalk signage at this crosswalk. Excuse me. So, last factors here. I live in the blue house. I don't know where this person lived. I don't know where they were going or coming from. But we know we have stores here. And we hear oftentimes, well, just go to the nearest crosswalk, pedestrians. Why are you so lazy? It's safer for you. Well, we have 950 feet between these marked crosswalks. So if I want to walk from my house to this store in the most direct line possible, I have about a 2-minute walk, and it's 400 feet from home. Now, a pedestrian moves at about 3.5 feet per second. Probably at this age, that's about right. It might be a little slower. A motorist at 40 miles an hour is moving 59 feet per second. So just go to the nearest crosswalk. Pedestrians, well, it may not seem onerous to take this blue line route. We almost triple our walk time and our walk distance.
Maybe you can summarize for
It is.
us what it is that we should be learning from this, because it's really hard to hear.
Yeah, and this is available online also, so you'll be able to watch this. Thank you for tolerating it as long as you have. I don't know why the audio is so much quieter on this than the other ones. Let me go a little bit further here just to finish the point that he's making. if we expected a driver to go the same amount of distance, we expect a pedestrian to walk to that crosswalk, rather than just crossing at the unmarked crossing, they would be driving all the way past Century Market and back. And so we never kind of put that expectation on pedestrians. So essentially what he is going at here, and this gets talked a lot about with some of the other stuff, is that there's many contributing factors to a crash, and that when we whittle things down to trying to assign blame, we oftentimes lose the root issues that are existing within a place. So I do want to direct you, because this is part of the thing that I've been changing as new information came to light. On the Strong Towns website, strongtowns.org, you'll see there's a number of different things, but for the Crash Studio, they're actually going to be sort of relaunching this program. They've done over 20 Crash Studios, probably about 2 years now, and they wanted more local areas to sort of take up this method on their own. And essentially what it is a way for communities to sort of exercise their ability to make a place safer. So if you'd like to register for that press briefing, it's going to cover sort of a summary of what went on with the crash analysis studios and what they found from those. That's going to be next week on Wednesday. You can come on. You can find that online. It's going to be next week, October 15th at 9 a.m. You can find that online, and I already have access, and I've been permissioned to share access to the report that they turned out. And they're basically prescribing these 6 things to prevent traffic crashes for cities specifically, because cities have a little bit more flexibility with what to do with their personal roads. Same thing goes for counties. The exception, of course, is for state highways. That is probably the slowest thing to get quick radical change from. But that is also changing, as I kind of previously mentioned. So I'll talk more about this with anyone who likes to. I have a copy of this report in the back. Again, it kind of goes more in depth, more technical, and essentially what they're prescribing is that all communities sort of adopt this process as a way of approaching traffic fatalities. And this is, I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it, but essentially the problem that we have is one where there's a disconnect, where when something like infrastructure gets damaged, we can go out, we can put up cones and block it. Some of you might know this. This is in Lakeport. I'm going to pick on my city for a little bit. This is that little wiggle when you go from Main Street to the high school, where you're going down Main Street and then you'll do two little 90-degree turns. They have a one-way barricade sort of thing. You can see one of them is on the left of this bottom picture here. It's still there. Somebody took that, ran it over, what have you, it was gone. And within 24 hours, they got cones and barricades and do not enter up. For contrast, this is right next to the 11th Street corridor. Somebody was struck and killed about 3 blocks away from this, a longtime Lakeport resident, a mail carrier, just struck in broad daylight. And it's the same sort of thing where it just seems like it's no one's fault. And so therein lies the problem also, where we don't really have systems in our local government to exercise this sort of strategic approach quickly. There's been no changes made where that person died yet. When infrastructure gets damaged, we have no problem going out and setting up cones and doing stuff in a very quick manner. I'm sorry. The dad clicked again. Oh goodness. I apologize. Okay. So, if you're interested in the Crash Analysis Studio, if you're interested in nominating a crash later, talk to me afterwards. I'd like to get this going in our community. They'd like to get this going in many different communities across the country. If that's not sort of your thing, go check out their content, go listen to some of their stuff. They talk a lot about this stuff in a lot better ways than I ever could. But I do want to talk about this because this kind of sets you up for what you can do right now. This is the public investment process for a strong town. It's essentially, again, their way of thinking about approaching problems. The first step is humbly observe where people in your community struggle. We'll focus on that one for this. The second is ask the question, what's the next smallest thing we can do right now to address that struggle? Third step is do that thing, do it right now. Don't wait for anybody else, go do it. Repeat. That first one I like to focus on because it's kind of that first step to getting you to see things differently. The key to the first step is humility. Emptying our minds of as many preconceived notions about the problems and solutions in a place as possible, we humble ourselves to observe as a proxy for lived experience. We're trying to understand from the perspective of those who struggle to use the city as it has been built, where the struggles are. A great way to observe is to walk with someone, literally treading the path with them to understand how they struggle. And I kind of wanted to highlight some things that I noticed when I gave this talk in Upper Lake. I went out a little bit before, and this is at Government Street and Highway 20 on the right-hand side. And this is kind of that idea where if you weren't walking, you might drive past this stop sign every single day and never notice that there's a dirt path where the crosswalk ends because the crosswalk was put there and there's really no infrastructure to connect it to the rest of the area. This is only 2 blocks away from the school, and there's a park across the street there. Like that is a corridor that you're going to expect to see kids in, and you know, while the crosswalk now has a rapid reflective flashing beacon, it's still the question is, are kids going to walk that? Because in productive places, what we see is that people are oftentimes walking between places, not willing to go that extra 5 minutes out of the way to go to a crosswalk. On the left here, some of you might recognize this, Highway 29 at Young Street. And this is one of those things where you might not notice it if you're just driving along the road every single day, where you can walk 2 people, have a conversation down the sidewalk until you get to this point, and then you can't quite get through that space in between there. So you have to walk one behind another. And that sort of thing creates like a disconnect from how the space is actually supposed to be used. This is in your commercial, you know, district. This is a block. I think the school's in the background there. You know, this is very much a place where people need to be walk, and furthermore walk comfortably too. So with that, if you're already observing some of these things in your community, you're already noticing that, that's good. That's the first step. Sorry, my phone is going off. That's the first step. The next step is to maybe participate in our local conversation. We have a local conversation called Chaotic But Smart. It's mainly a few people from Lakeport now. I'm a leader. Someone who's running for the council in Lakeport is also a leader. And it's really focused on a lot of the different wide variety of topics that Strong Towns talks about. If you don't like how I portray things, or you think you could do a better job, you're more than welcome to start a local conversation of your own here in Middletown. You're also welcome to join ours. There's a lot of these across the whole nation, and there's more springing up every week. And it's kind of their Strong Towns IRL. Their staff also really wants to help people get these groups started for free. Like, so if you reach out to their staff, they will help you get these groups off the ground going, to do crash analysis studios, to do bike walks, to do all sorts of different things. This is just a list. I won't go through all of them, but I just wanted to go through some examples of what other local conversations are doing. Obviously, making streets safer and more productive, just kind of the things that they're focusing on. Expanding housing options, ending parking mandates and subsidies, making city finances more accessible. Speaking up at city council meetings. They're meeting with city officials. Hosting Q&As. I know someone else just hosted a candidate forum in Artesia, California. Organizing events, community bike rides, lots of different things. Book clubs. There's a few books that Strong Towns write. And so here's just some pictures of some other local conversations. That one in the top left was a place in this Chattanooga, Tennessee, where basically they had gone and put in temporary materials. Just a ragtag group of people had gone and put in ragtag materials where someone had been killed on a street where I think actually several people had been killed in a same area and nothing had been done. And then when they went out and did that, the city then removed the stuff that they had put in, and there was a huge backlash. And so they showed up with many people at the council and said, hey, you need to do something about this. Lots of other things like hosting a bike ride, inviting council members or local electeds or even technical professionals to come on a bike ride to actually experience the places that they're planning for. That one in the middle and the bottom left is probably from parking day, which is a day where people will go and set up little community things in parking spaces to show that that space that is used oftentimes to store cars for free can be better utilized in a productive way. And that bottom right-hand corner is one of the things where you saw where people just go out and paint the crosswalk where they know people are crossing, and there already really should be one, but they've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And you know, different municipalities are different about that and how they handle that. Anyway, that is pretty much my spiel. I would love to get some questions about you, but I know you have another presentation, so I would love to ask some questions after of you guys if you want to stay around and hang, because I would love to get to know Middletown a little bit better, because nobody's going to know like the little nuances as well as you guys do about, I think the last thing we talked about was students crossing the street at the crosswalks, right? And you know, that also plays into what John talked about with, you know, certain types of projects that are going through main streets on a state highway, and what sort of that process looks like. It's very interesting at a Caltrans level what's possible and what's not, but counties and cities have a little bit more agency. With that, sorry, I know I ran. Thanks for staying with me with all the technical difficulties. Apologize for that. We'll figure it out. Thanks so much.
Any questions for Danny?
Absolutely take some. Yeah, what's up? Oh, do you want me to run the... I can run around.
Yeah, Danny, we have for years complained about the lack of attentiveness to the crosswalks in Middletown. They're extremely unsafe. We have people speeding through here on a daily basis. At night, you are basically taking your life in your hands if you're not waiting until there are absolutely no cars. They do not stop. You can wave your arms and wear reflective material, and for some reason they don't stop. We've asked for flashing lights to be produced at the put at the crosswalks. I learned at the last meeting that our request has been turned down. What do you suggest we do to get something done about this important issue before someone dies, and then we have to have a study like you're suggesting?
I really like the way you phrase that, because I think it shows to like the care, like, right, is like we know people have a risk of dying on the street. We know that the speeds are incompatible with what the street is being used for. I do know there are some things from Caltrans coming that are supposed to adapt the streetscape. I also know that it's very hard to get things to change from Caltrans. A lot of these programs and projects have been worked on for a number of years. There's actually legislation that came down from the state that got signed like a month ago that also changes the way that Caltrans has to approach these projects. I still think there's going to be a lot of projects that don't accommodate well enough for pedestrians, that are, you know, have been in the works for a long time, that are gonna come down the pipeline. I would say defer to strong towns, talk to some of them. I can't say, you know, go out and paint a crosswalk there. Obviously, it's a state highway. There's some hiccups around that, you might say. But I would definitely say it's probably worth talking someone at Strong Towns. They might have a good way to do this. One of the things that I've been trying to develop a program for is a way that people could contact our local conversation when you're having like a street fair, Middletown Days, or the farmers market, to do sort of temporary traffic calming measures in and around the areas that the events are going on as a way to bring attention to those things. And I would say that you could do that just the same with any of your other service groups that exist here also. Middletown Merchants Association, this group, in and of itself could, try to do some of these things. I think about when someone was talking about the stop signs at the last meeting and how some of them weren't replaced since the fires. I'm of the opinion that if it's on a county road, like, go put a stop sign on the side of the street. Like, I'm not saying go punch holes in the ground, but, go get a freestanding stop sign. If you know that it was there, I seriously doubt someone is willing to remove that stop sign. Obviously there's a monetary factor that goes into that too, but I do think also documenting these things when you do them, if you do it in a proper way with an event, that documenting that so that people can see how people react to it, and then also like taking, qualitative, hey, you're walking through this area, how does this compare to the way it was before? Getting that sort of lived experience is really valuable to the way you might have to adjust it. That's the other thing with temporary materials, is you can adjust it if it doesn't work quite perfectly, which is not the case if you have a big project that comes in and puts in hardscape, concrete, curbs and stuff. That kind of stuff is unchanging. So, yeah.
The presentation talked about if you see something and go ahead and do it. When I drive through town, because I live outside of town, the speeding is just ridiculous. So I have started driving, the speed limit's 30, I've started driving 25, because I figure you have to slow down.
You're a natural traffic calmer.
Trying anyway. And then I live outside of town. There's been about probably 20 deaths in front of my house in the last 10 years. And so when I'm driving, I put my left-hand blinker on about, half a mile before I'm actually going to turn left, because that's usually what happens is people aren't paying attention. So we had a 10-car pileup a couple years ago. And so I put the blinker on way ahead of time, so it lets the people know that I'm going to be turning left, so you better slow down. And then when I make that left turn, if I see a car coming, my husband says it's dangerous, I go even slower, because I figure that way that they're a distance from me. They're going to have to put their brakes down and start slowing down. The speed limit is 55, not 75. And these are not local to Middletown people going 75. Won't say where they're from, but we all know. And that's my question, is how can we get them to start slowing down and not passing over the double yellow line, other than honking, which I do too.
I do think some of the defensive driving tactics, I should premise. Mr. Wind is my grandfather. Officer Wind is my father.
Okay.
And so I would say your defensive driving tactics are probably also very, very good. I think they're helping you.
Well, I've allowed the highway patrol to sit in front of my house and bust people.
You're just south of
Mirabel.
South of town?
And he asked me one day,
yeah.
he busted 3 people, and he said, is that okay? I said, pull over everybody you can right here. Use my property. Do what you want.
Yeah.
So
and people and oftentimes that's sort of that initial reaction too, right? Is it's like, okay, let's do an increased enforcement here. One of the things I heard from actually a council member that sits on the APC is that, we did enforcement here 10 years ago, and it really drove the speeds down. It was in the North Shore where they're having problems with people using the center turn lane. He says that they had real success, that they ticketed a bunch of people and then they didn't see as many problems there. And it's like, well, yeah, because you applied for a grant to go do strategic enforcement in this area, and then you stopped doing enforcement after that. That's why there's less tickets in that area. And so even when that does have a good effect on the community, oftentimes it further strains the relationship between the community and officers also, because traffic stops and domestic calls are the 2 most dangerous things for a police officer. And then furthermore, people are driving the speed that they feel is correct. They're driving the speed that other drivers are driving and that the design is doing. And so again, If it was a county or city road, there's a lot more agency for them to actually go out and do something really quickly. Kind of like how you saw with where Lakeport just the next day went out and they put up cones and a barricade to replace that. But with state highways, that is very different. And that kind of gets into a policy wormhole that I don't too much want to touch. But I do think that, you know, the things that you're talking about are definitely valuable. You're observing those things. And definitely that southern portion between the casino and your downtown here where they're putting in that path makes a lot of sense, because the cars that are driving there are incompatible with the uses, which is people walking. So it's essential that you separate those two uses.
Well, I asked
All right.
Caltrans when they were
I need
here.
to wrap this up.
'Cause, yeah,
so
we're
in the interest
going, I
of
know.
time,
Yeah,
so if
sorry
you'd like
about
to, if you have
I
more
can
questions.
absolutely talk to you guys afterwards, though. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Danny. So really appreciate your presentation, and part of the reason for this presentation, and of course with Caltrans coming, and I appreciate John coming from APC, and I understand we're going to hear more from you in the future, in the not too distant future. But this here goes hand in hand with developing our town, and of course with our general plan, policies update, and with the area plan update. So, you know, I hope this just kind of inspires and, you know, stirs some thought about how we can make, since we do have a highway running right through the center of our town, how we can make our town safer and more walkable, healthy, cycling, and keep our kids and our youth safe. So thank you again. So we'll move on to the part of our agenda now with the approval of the meeting minutes. And I would have to say also that with the meeting minutes, if you had a chance to look at those, they are mostly the same, but just slightly different, because I myself put those together. Again, we allowed Ken to take a vacation. So the minutes are just very brief. But I will entertain a motion to accept those, or to accept any changes or modifications. Thank you. John Hess approved. And Bill, will you second? Okay, perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so moved. Now we'll move on to correspondence. Ken, or do you have any correspondence? You're in the audience now.
He's still on vacation.
Yeah.
Julia, I'm sorry. And it had to do with the Baja project and the water usage. Oh, I'm sorry.
You can use that one if you want.
The water usage and the housing, and I think we've addressed somewhat. I think we have adjusted a little bit, but it was a concern as far as Julia was concerned, and I'm sure everyone else is concerned about the water usage for the Maha project and the housing that's going to go in at Santa Clara. So that was about all I have.
Okay, thank you. And so yes, we received a copy of a letter from Julia Bono that she had submitted to the County Planning Department. And if you'd like a copy of that, you can contact Julia Bono directly. So other correspondence that has been received was an item from the planning, a couple of items actually from the Planning Department. One is in regard to a notice for the upcoming Planning Commission meeting on October 24th. It is regarding the Valley Oaks development, and it's the consideration of the final subdivision map for Village 2, Phase 1 of the commercial development of Valley Oaks. The staff report for that will be posted and available 72 hours prior to the meeting date and time. So beyond that, I don't really have any further information, but do keep your eyes open if you're interested in that project. Again, the Planning Commission date, or meeting date, is October 24th, and that item is scheduled for 9:20 a.m. An additional notice that we received from the Planning Department is in regard to Lake County 2050. That is the project to update the general plan and all 8 area plans. There will be 2 virtual meetings maybe more. In the announcement, there is a virtual meeting scheduled for Wednesday, 10/16 at 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. I'd also like to note that this notice came out, or I received it October 8th, and in that October 8th notice, they actually, it was indicated that there was a meeting scheduled for yesterday. So very, very short notice on that. But then another notice came out today saying that they have scheduled a meeting for 10/16. So if you would like to tune into that, that is a virtual only meeting. So you can go to lakecounty2050.org to get all the meeting schedules and the links to tune into that meeting on 10/16. It starts at 3 p.m. There's also an in-person county meeting. I believe it's for the general plan, but I'm not sure. It didn't really indicate that on the notice. But there are 2 meetings scheduled, and that would be for Thursday, October 17th, and Monday, October 21st. Both those meetings start at 5 p.m. and are scheduled to go to 6:30. The location is the Board of Supervisors Chambers in Lakeport. So, and then the other piece of information that I received, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, is I received a email from Izzy Hanakopa, the project manager for Caltrans for District 1. And he is working, as he's the project manager there, he is working on the plans for our town and our community and the changes that are coming in the next couple of years here in regard to Caltrans. So one thing that he had mentioned is that they are, unless the community opposes this, but they are working at reinstalling the bus stop that originally was by Hardisters in the West America Bank. So I'm not sure exactly what happened to that, but that at the last meeting we kind of discussed that a little bit. But anyway, that's where the bus stop was, and they will work at reinstalling that to provide more transit for those that need other forms of transportation. The lights downtown. This is something I just want us to think about. It's not an action item today, but probably at the next meeting. Can somebody pass these out? So that's all the same. Those are 4, and this one here is another 4. So maybe if you pass 2 copies on that side of the room and 2 on this side of the room. And what she's passing out, because this, as Caltrans is designing the roads, Izzy is asking us about our downtown lights. Currently, we have what's called decorative lights that line our street, and this is something that M.A.T.H did several years ago. Actually worked on getting the lights into the downtown area, and I know that there was a extensive amount of time and energy that went into selecting the lights that are downtown. And anyway, so those were put in. But as Caltrans redesigns our downtown area, the question that they have is, do we want to maintain the decorative lighting, or do we want to go with the Caltrans standard street light? Now, the 2 photographs that you have there is one shows the decorative light that is on the left side of the photo, and the other shows the Caltrans standard light, which is that arching, long-reaching light that's over the stoplight. So now that's the Caltrans standard light. If those were put in our downtown area, it would probably have a shorter mast. So, but nonetheless, those would be the lights. And Caltrans prefers to use the standard street light because it meets legal standards, and Caltrans has a warehouse full of parts for the maintenance of those very attractive lights. So, but Izzy says, if the citizens of Middletown prefer another type of lighting, he just wants to know so he can pass that on to the design department.
If we prefer another kind, like do they have samples?
Like another kind, no. They have the one standard street light that hangs over the stoplight.
Right.
So if we prefer to stay with the decorative lights, which is what we have downtown currently, in addition to, I mean, there is that one standard street light that's over the intersection of Highway 175, Highway 29. You know, they have a couple of their standard lights out there, but we have a row of decorative lights. And so the question is just in their design, they want to know what to incorporate, whether we go with their standard lighting or whether we stay with the decorative lights we currently have and or something like that, which is not something that they have to choose from. Questions? Kate, okay, so we need to go to the mics. So if we can go back to using the mic, come on up if you want to ask a question. And again, this is not a decision we have to make tonight. We can think about it. You guys can look through downtown and we can make this decision next week. Yes.
The decorative lights, in my opinion, is this on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are attractive, but the light by the post office is burned out and been burned out for a long time, so it doesn't matter what it looks like during the day if it doesn't have light at night. And of course, we learned from the not grocery outlet, you know what I'm talking about, by Hidden Valley, the new grocery store.
The grocery outlet.
Yeah.
Oh, it is grocery outlet. Okay, that place. The dark skies is important too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's part of the culture of the area that we're not going to like illuminate it from the ground up, although it's very important to have lighting. So whatever decorative, you know, like if they can change it and keep it illuminated, yay. But it's also part of our culture to have dark skies.
Right. So just to address one thing in regard to the lights, the ones that are out, which I did pass on to Izzy because we have several that are out and or are ready to go out. But those, because they are decorative lights and stuff, we have different entities are in charge of different things. And so he's checking for me, but we're pretty certain that PG&E is responsible for those. So, and I don't know if it's a combination of PG&E and our Public Works Department or how we get those lights changed. But again, that's the thing between going with a Caltrans standard light is then Caltrans is kind of responsible for that. But we go with decorative lights, then the responsibility moves to others. Yes, Julia.
I think Middletown is a historic town. Let's face it, we've been here a long time. Those decorative lights are much, much more in line with the nature of our town. Looking at the standard lights, they're just big and ugly and modern, and we're not that kind of town. What exactly is the price differential? Why can't we get someone just to put in a few lights? Are they that much more expensive? I mean, I don't think we're being given all the information we need to be able to make this decision. If it's roughly equal, or it's only just a little bit more of a pain, I would definitely go with the decorative lights, just because it's more consistent.
Maybe we need to do a GoFundMe.
Madam Chair,
Okay.
can I talk for a second?
Yes.
We talked about this last time.
We did.
We
yeah.
talked about this last time, so it seems to me that somebody, not me, although I am making a suggestion, so I should be responsible for it, but I can't. But that somebody should just like look at like if we can follow up with PG&E, if we can get the light bulbs changed, we should keep the traditional ones because we like them and we definitely don't want to ruin our dark skies. So what else is available? And I can tell you, because I'm on that corner in the picture, that it's very bright on my corner. It's super bright on my corner. So I don't know if it's because of this one or because of all these ones, but it's very, very bright on the corner of 29 and 175. So yeah, we just need to be careful. And yeah, grocery outlet is way too much light. There's no question about it. We need to be careful. I couldn't see any of those northern lights from my house.
Okay. Great. take on those comments and pass them forward. Okay, any other comments about lights?
We should put it on the agenda, Monica,
Yes.
and to make a vote, like have some choices and make a vote.
Okay, so heard. So moving on to the next item is the MAMA presentation.
Perfect. So,
MAMA stands for the Middletown Area Merchants Association.
Yes. Hi, I'm Tanya Streetick, and I am serving as the president for the Middletown Area Merchants Association. Next to me is Wendy. She's the vice president, and she's going to speak about one of the things that we do. And then Tara is one of our coordinators for Christmas in Middletown this year. So she's going to talk about that, plus our little trunk or treat thing coming up. So I think she was really wanted us to come for this type of, for the events that were coming up because it's Christmas. But I just wanted to say, I actually made some notes about what we do. So now I'm like, gonna give you my little spiel. So I guess. So, we don't, okay, now I'm getting tongue-tied. Our philosophy, of course, is to promote a thriving business community in our area, but most of us who are on the board realize that goes hand in hand with just a thriving community. It's hard to disassociate a thriving business community and not a thriving community. It all goes hand in hand. So our focus isn't just purely whatever's good for our business members, because we feel whatever is good for our business members is good for the community, and whatever is good for the community is good for our businesses. So, so a lot of us really, God, I can't even read my things. Anyway, so one of the ways we promote Middletown is through our website, and we have a Facebook page, and we print this directory of our member businesses, which is actually this really big deal that every year we go, why do we do this? It's like a bigger project than we can actually, what do I want to say, efficiently manage. And we have some mixers pretty much monthly, and then we have events. And a lot of you don't know that it's the Merchants Association who puts on Christmas in Middletown. It doesn't just happen magically. And it's a big project. And we also have been doing movies in the park, and we always like to try to do a teacher appreciation something. We used to do a potluck. COVID sort of nixed that. And so right now we've just gone to teacher appreciation bags, and Wendy's going to talk to you about our need for more donations for that. And then we have the directory, website, Facebook. Anyway, I think we've actually added trunk or treat for a Halloween thing. We would love, most of our board members are pushing to do something in the spring too. And our 10th anniversary for the fire is coming up, and we're sort of mumbling about a big community potluck thing that we can try to throw so we'll see about that. And then so our membership right now is sort of I really want to say we have 45 to fit. Did she tell you?
She did not give me
She did not give me an update. Anyway, so we've just switched to a rotating membership, and so we're sort of, our new members, people are sort of figuring it out, that they've got to go online, that it's a whole new thing, that, if you join in November, your dues are due the next November. You're good for that. It used to be everybody paid in July, and that was just a lot of work piling up all at once. And we've been working on getting more efficient integration between our membership files and our QuickBooks and all of that. So Chanel has really been working hard on that and sort of an auto renew system. So most of our decisions and work is really done by committees, and they report back to the board, and the board, does their thing. Anyway, so take it. I'm going to step away right now. I just want to say, but I want to say one thing. You know, and I don't know, I think because social media is so big now, I don't know if people find business associations as important as they used to. I know that I opened my business 20 years ago on a back street back here at the end of town, like out of sight, out of mind. And the first thing I did was search out the business association. One reason was because I knew they were going to have a website, and I didn't have a website, and but that was before Facebook really took off and all of that. But I really felt it was important, and I don't know if that's something that we're struggling with in this day and age, because everybody can just do their own promotion now on Facebook, and everybody can just have a website, and everybody can just, and don't see the value of having a business association. I'd like to tell, for me, I found it really valuable. For me, I found it really valuable getting together with other people in business, and because a lot of it, a small town like this, we all support, we do a lot of supporting of each other. So, and we need it.
And before you step away from the mic, where is your next mixer and when?
Oh, yes. Our next mixer is at Harbin Hot Springs, and it is October 27th. It is the 4th Tuesday of the month. It's at 6 o'clock, and I believe you have to, do you know anything? I should know about that.
I believe that it's October 22nd.
22nd. That's our 4th Tuesday?
That is our 4th Tuesday.
Okay. And it should be on the Facebook page, and Henny Penny is providing food, but you have to sign up for the food ahead of time and actually pay through our website, even though I thought we were doing away with all that, but apparently we're not, because collecting money on the, yeah, anyway. So bear with us. I mean, we're not a perfect organization. We are not a professional organization. We are all up to our ears with our own businesses and our own projects. And so you can see by my very professional presentation, the level of professional, we're not like Clear Lake Chamber of Commerce where everybody gets paid to work. Anyway, and it's their career, some of these guys. But anyway, here is Wendy. She's going to take over. I don't want to take up too much more time.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be like, sound really grubbing, like I'm grubbing for things tonight, but I probably am. Because Lake County and Middletown, we care for our people. We really do. And when things arise and there are problems, people come together. Well, first of all, Mama has Teachers Appreciation. And we do. We give these great bags out every year. But this year we've had a problem getting donations. So if anybody knows and would like to thank our teachers, we put together about 100 bags and deliver them to every school, and they're always so well received with, but we're looking for nail files and lotion and little Kleenex boxes or sticky notes, or if anybody could do that, you could drop it off at Middletown Mail or more, and that's a way to really help our teachers and help our students. Happy teachers, happy students, and vice versa. So that would be good. And I am also, as soon as, we're trying to get it like for mid-October, and we're already there. So if we could have donations in by...
the donations were supposed to be turned in by October 9th. We are obviously past that. We've only gotten a few donations, really. I believe 3 items per bag, which is obviously very lacking compared to what we normally do. My theory is, election year, things are uncertain, things are scary, people are not spending as much as they typically would. So we're not getting as many donations. It would be lovely if we could get things within the next couple of weeks. We do want to throw them together really quickly, so we don't have a new date for due date, but I imagine sometime, yesterday would be great. If anybody could help.
Let's call it the 20th.
The 20th would be great.
Okay.
How many bags are you making?
100.
100.
Yeah, it does all the schools in Cobb and Lower Lake, and we kind of go.
And the charters.
Yeah, and the charter schools.
You can make a coupon to something, even if it's just like
a discount off of something, or yeah.
Free entrance to a free thing.
Yeah.
I
like it. Okay.
Bingo. It'll help increase the traffic in your free thing.
And I am also the Community Relations Coordinator for Lake County Community Foundation. And we are a really new baby foundation, a nonprofit for Lake County. And we are now the fiscal agent for Lake County. Prior to this, the 2015 fire, there was no fiscal agent, and most of the funding and donations went to Sonoma County. Lake County did not get the monies to rebuild, and it was absolutely crazy. But we are now official and designated, and I've spent the last 2 weeks going crazy. I've sat with about 25 of the 30 people who lost their homes in the Boyle fire, face to face, and talked. And we've handed out, we're just babies. This is the first time we've done it, so we're learning as we go. We've given out thousands of dollars of gift cards for Safeway. Catholic Charities was kind enough to donate $750 per family that owned a home. We are now working on getting a substantial amount for each home that was lost to help them do first month's deposit, last month's deposit, and get into new facilities before they can build. So it's lakeccf.org. There are donation buttons on there for the fire, and any contributions would be appreciated. I sat with a woman who sat in front of me, and she said, I found a place to rent, and I love to cook. And then I said, I have no salt, I have no pepper, I have no measuring spoon, I have no pan. It's really, they're pregnant women, children. As a community, we need to reach out and do what we can. So I thank you for your consideration.
Oh, thank you, Wendy. And then I forgot to mention that we just did sort of a bylaw revamp, and people had asked if if they weren't in business, if they could become members, and we did change our bylaws so that an individual can be a member of the Merchants Association if they just want to support what we do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tara?
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, echoing on what Tanya had said earlier about us not having a lot of time. We are all business owners that are, running our businesses. We're working as volunteers for Mama. The more people that feel like joining and volunteering with us, the more appreciated. Because it does tend to be, the same groups of people organizing the same events, and it's always welcome to have more people. So that is one of the reasons why we did open it up to individual membership. Because, I mean, if I was not lucky enough to own my own business, I would still want to join, because I still like to help organize community events and bring business into the area. That's really the goal. With things like Christmas in Middletown, for example, I actually, I threw out a couple flyers out there as well on the table. Yeah, thank you, Vanna. There's a Christmas in Middletown flyer. There's a trunk or treat flyer. But we're trying to increase the traffic, the foot traffic that we have to the local businesses in the area, whether that is storefronts or if you're a vendor that's able to, have a booth and sell things. With Christmas in Middletown last year, based at least on the information we got from the meals sold, we sold over 5,000 meals, which, I mean, and not everybody that comes buys food, right? And so you got to imagine there were more attendees than that. So hopefully, and actually people ran out of food. I should also say that. So we didn't even have the opportunity to see how many people we really actually serviced that day. If we can get that many people into town a few times a week, especially like right before the holidays when people are buying gifts for people, then hopefully our community will do well. So Christmas in Middletown, it's really, really a great event. If you are interested in having a booth, or if you do have a storefront, we highly encourage you to be open that day. Decorate lightly. Ideally, we would be that hallmark town. We're a cute town. We have the capability of being adorable. If we could have the entire street look very welcoming, even if it's just you put a little like the frost paint on your window or whatever, and stay open that day because you probably will get traffic. You know, people are walking up and down the street. But the event, we actually are extending the hours. Last year it was 4 to 8. This year it'll be 3 to 8. And so we are extending the hours because we feel that, you know, if we can get maybe the younger kids earlier and then they can go to sleep and then we can get like teens and things through later. But we have, I know. But we'll have Santa. If you'd like to participate in the Passport of Fun, then we do need you to sign up. It is live. The signups are on our calendar on the website. There's a link. And so on the flyer, I'm going to actually be going door to door like a crazy person and passing out these flyers, encouraging people to sign up. And hopefully getting one of these flyers in most windows. And I plan on doing that over the next couple of weeks in my free time, because I apparently have free time. We want to do a tree lighting ceremony, you know, like we do every year. And we've got bands, music. We have La Posada is going to be going on, right, Lisa? Yes, thank you. So that is in December. That'll be December 14th. We're trying to consistently keep it, gosh, what is that, the second?
Second Saturday.
Second Saturday always in December is the plan.
Rain or shine.
Rain or shine.
Because that's a big deal.
Curveball. The other event that I am talking about right now is a trunk or treat. This is our second annual trunk or treat that we are throwing out there. Just something to, again, get traffic into the area and get people excited about the holiday season and just celebrating together and, you know, enjoying good faith. So we do need people to sign up vehicles for trunk or treat. And also, if you're incapable of decorating a vehicle and actually being there to hand out candy, if you could possibly maybe donate candy to people that will be there. Last year we did face painting and games and stuff. It was really cute.
What day is it going to be, on Halloween or on Friday?
That actually
Friday.
will be,
November 1st.
November
First
1st.
Fridays.
So we'll be doing it on Dia de los Muertos. Yes. So trunk or treat. I have a little flyer over there as well. I'll be going door to door talking about that. And then we have more events like mentioned before. We're hoping to bring in a spring event. I'm really hoping to bring in not fireworks, but a drone show. Because we used to do fireworks, right? And now everybody has to go either up to Lakeport or down to like Calistoga, Napa, somewhere else. If we could have that community event brought back to our community, that would be great. And drones they're cheaper than the fireworks were. They're safer than the fireworks were. And I already have a venue that has donated their space for free. So I'm working on it, but I definitely will need donations to be put toward the payment of the drones because they're not free. I guess that's it. So
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for all you do.
So now a couple things real quick as we move on. I did want to introduce, and I'm not sure if he has something to say during public comment, but Brock is here, our superintendent of schools. Thank you for joining us this evening. And I also wanted to introduce Jacob in the back of the room there. And I promised Jacob that we would try to be out on time, and I'm blowing that. Jacob is our new person. He actually did this fine setup for us with all the chairs. He got this room all ready for us. Jacob is now you're working for the county, right? Yes. And will open and close the room for us. So our next item on the agenda is, and Jacob's fair game for this also, because our next item is board nominations. Nominations open today, so for the October, November, December meeting of the math meeting, And so I would entertain or accept nominations now if anybody's interested. If not, as I see people walking out the door, we can move on to the next item and hit nominations harder next month. Any nominations, or shall we move on?
Would you like to be on the board, Chuck?
Would I like to be on the board? Possibly.
We don't have to do a whole, I mean, the
Okay.
president does a lot and the secretary does a lot, but the rest of us are mostly here.
Okay, but you can have this conversation outside the meeting, and you can nominate Tara outside.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I second the vote. So, can you clarify?
So is there a nomination?
Meetings in the year prior, what that actually means?
That means that from now through December, somebody, now through, the election happens in January. So that means this year, 2024, you have to have attended 3 meetings. So now
That goes through December.
By the end of
Those
December.
3 meetings.
by the end of December, yes. So a person could attend October, November, December, and be qualified for the nomination. So, and that's one of the reasons why we start nominations and give the 3-month, and so. Okay, any nominations currently, or? Okay, moving on. So the next item on the agenda is board member comments. And again, I wanted to open this up to my fellow board members because I always hog the mic. But if there's anything that any of the board members, Bill, we'll start with you. If you would like to share something with us. And you don't have to, but if you have something.
The only thing I was thinking of, but one of the, in my ex-town where I raised my kids and everything, in Novato, Marin County, what they used to do is they used to invite the kids in the schools, classrooms, to paint a window. Each class would take a window and then they would do a competition. And that obviously gets the parents involved and it gets relatives involved and all this kind of stuff. And it might be a consideration for getting windows painted in the various businesses in the community. And that's just a suggestion. It's just, I throw that out there just because it was an experience. So, thank you.
Nanette, did you have something you wanted to?
I think public comment.
Okay, thank you. Ken?
I've served on the board in different capacities for several years, and this last year has been secretary. It's an honor to be here, to be of service to Middletown, but this will be my last year, and so I hope somebody else steps up to the plate.
And thank you for your service, Ken.
Okay, everybody. I am very concerned about Maha in Middletown because we don't have details. And I just want to meet with those people and get details from them. And, you know, about how is it going to impact our schools? Are there second language people coming? What are those language? How will we address it? Do we have clinics for these people? How is the long-term projection going to be? I know that there's housing, but it's very crowded housing. I just want to have more information. And I have already sat with one of the guys, one of the representatives, and I am going to ask him to come again, maybe with another guy who represents Maha. I'm not against the project over there. I want details. 300 more people, 300 to 350 people coming into Middletown in a town of only 1,000 is a big impact. And I just want details. I want to know more about what their vision is. So if you would like to join me, I have a little sign-up board here. You write your name, your phone number, and your email, and I will invite you to this meeting when we organize it. It won't be here. It won't be under the Brown Act. It's a community meeting. It's an information meeting. We have a right to know more about what their vision really is. That's it. Thanks.
You're here.
So now, I believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, but there was a group that was formed some time ago called Middletown Neighbors, and that was a group that we formed when we were basically concerned with the project, the Dollar General project that was coming into Middletown. And that's exactly what that was a meeting to get together with the community, learn more about the project and the details and stuff, and take a position on what you actually felt. If you recall, earlier this evening, I mentioned about the Valley Oaks project, the notice that we got from the Planning Commission. We don't really know the details of that particular project, and we won't know till 72 hours prior to the Planning Commission meeting date. That is hardly enough time for this body to act, or to be informed or to get the information. So what we did with the Middletown Neighbors, and I think that's what Lisa is suggesting now, is to have those meetings and to flush out some of those details so that we are more prepared, so that the community knows more and is more prepared when a project does hit the Planning Commission and or Board of Supervisors. So we have, a little bit more background and can ask intelligent questions or look up information. So is that kind of correct, Lisa?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So, and then the other comment I would like to add is that there was, if you recall, a few meetings ago, we talked about, and this body had asked to have the project brought back, but again, this project really hasn't moved forward to my knowledge at this point in time. It's called the Rancho Lake Project, where the representatives from the Rancho Lake Project, a cannabis project, had come to the meeting and spoke a little bit about the project, answered some questions, and the community asked some questions. But anyway, as with every project, there are 2 and or 3, sometimes 4 sides to a project or different perspectives. And in this case here, there is a neighbor to that project, and he was going to, I think in this body, we wanted to have both entities, both sides. If there are just 2 sides to the project, there could be more. But anyway, to have fair representation. What he did is, the neighbor to this project, is that as he started exploring the project himself to have a large cannabis project next to his location, is he actually prepared what is called a cannabis policy dialogue. Because as he, on a personal level, on an individual level, as he started digging deeper into the project that might be next door to him, is he found some issues as far as with the county ordinance and with our policies currently. So he has put together, it's about 30 pages, a cannabis policy dialogue. And he will be introducing this throughout the county to various different people at trying to open up this dialogue a little bit more. And this kind of works hand in hand with, in my opinion, from what I know, it kind of works hand in hand with what the Cannabis Task Force is doing, but the Cannabis Task Force is moving rather slowly through the process, as they've been now in a 2-year process and not complete yet. So anyway, so this is, he just had asked me to introduce this if I would, and it can be made available if you'd like to reach out to me, and we can put you in touch with him and with his dialogue if you'd kind of like to read through that and get a little more insight on the whole cannabis policy here in Lake County. So that's all I have to say, and now we go into public comment or public input.
Okay.
Nanette?
There is an event going on, I believe it's this October 12th, that Saturday, at the Hidden Valley Community Church. There's food trucks, all kinds of things going on, and they're having a contest with dogs, small, medium, and large. I don't know if it's cutest or ugliest or whatever. There's $100, what's that?
Best costumes, probably.
Oh, it doesn't say that, so just bring your dog. And then, more importantly, the Jameson Humane presents annual wellness vaccine and microchip clinic. They've been up here in the past, and they're coming back. So if you go, it is at the Clear Lake Senior Community Center on Saturday. They typed it up wrong. October 26th from 10 to 1. So if you know anybody, it's free vaccinations that can't afford to get their, I think you can do up to 2 animals, 2 dogs, or a dog and a cat, or 2 cats. They will give vaccinations, microchips, and free pet supplies, I believe including food, because we're finding out that a lot of people surrender their animals just because they can't afford the food anymore. And so hooking up with these people will help facilitate that. So again, it's Sunday, October 26th at the Clear Lake Senior Community Center from 10 to 1. So if you know anybody that hasn't got vaccinations, please get them. Okay, I'm good.
Thank you. Julia, you have a public comment?
Yes, 2 things. First of all, I wish to emphatically second what Lisa said about the project in central Middletown. Okay, this is an extreme impact on this historical community. We do not have the parameters, as she has pointed out. My letter to the board was kind of glossed over today. It had a lot of questions, and I think we need to really take this seriously. Lisa, I'll be at that meeting and put my name down. I really think Middletown needs to gather and activate on this very important subject. We are being sold out to the Chinese. All right, this is not a joke, and this is going to impact anybody who lives in central Middletown. If you live in Hidden Valley, yeah, you can brush it off, but if you live in Middletown, this is going to impact you. And I think we really, really need to get serious about it. Secondly, I would like to invite everyone and their friends to come to the Freedom Feed being hosted at the Rainbow Church of Living Light this coming Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m. It features free veganic food that's vegan and organic and live music. So if you want a free meal, it's a rustic situation. Bring your dining utensils. Bring a cup, a plate, and something to eat with. And that's all we ask. So please come on down, meet us, and be our guests. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Lisa?
MAC is opening a new exhibit on Saturday, also from 6 p.m. And we happen to be Julia's neighbor, so come to the exhibit and go get free vegan food. You can take the plate from our place and the cup and go over there. So, but anyway, we're opening an exhibit. It's very powerful. It's called Right in Front of Me. So it's about issues, like real stuff. And then what else? The park is open, dawn to dusk daily. Fabulous exhibit if you haven't seen it yet. The Eco Art Sculpture Walk. We're doing Dia de los Muertos on Friday, first Friday, and also on Saturday. So Friday we're doing ofrenda comunitaria. So it's a community ofrenda. You bring a picture of somebody who you love, who you hope will come back to you that night and say hello, or food for them. And we're on Saturday, we're going to have DJ and folklorico and lots of food to buy. And this is, Middletown Art Center is holding space for this, but this is really organized also by our Mexican friends and neighbors who would like to share their traditions with us. So come and join us. It's free.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh, wait, I should say it's an evening event. Like 6 to 9 or 6 to 10 or whatever. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Nanette, you have one more?
One more, I forgot. The Friday night market, new hours are 4 to 7. It was 5 to 8. It's now 4 to 7. A lot of people were showing up last week at 7 o'clock going, why are you guys packing up? So it's now 4 to 7 instead of 5 to 8.
Thank you.
Okay, one just quick comment, a clarification, just for the record. And I appreciate that the Record Bee is here today and has been attending our meetings on a regular basis, and also attended the September 9th meeting that the county held at Calpine in regard to the MAHA project. But one of the things that, a statement that was made in regard to this housing project that we were talking about, and I'm not sure if the paper had made the correction. I do know that the county of Lake, that Maria Turner with the planning department did send a correction in, but she had, during that meeting, had misstated that the zoning for that housing project was R3. It is not R3, it is R1. So I just wanted to make that correction publicly through this meeting, so because that is a concern I see for this group. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica.
So with that, we are on the next item on, unless there's any other public announcements. Brock, do you have anything to share with us? Okay. Thank you for attending, and we'll adjourn.
Oh, don't we need to do agenda?
No.
Okay.
It's not on the agenda.
Okay. So you're making a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
I'll second, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody opposed? All in favor then?
Yeah.
Thank you.